Whether you're hunting to land your first support job or looking forward into progressing towards DevOps, these videos will be right for you. In today's episode, I'll be showing you how to set up Linux environment on your Windows computer. So let's get right into it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to download VirtualBox. That's going to help us create virtual machines on our Windows host. If you go to their website, hit downloads and hit here Windows hosts, that will give you installer. After that, you want to go to Alma Linux and on top right, you want to press download. Here you can download the Alma Linux OS DVD ISO. The version might be a bit different for you, but if you press this one, it will download the Alma Linux installer, the ISO image for you. Once you're done with that, you want to install VirtualBox, and once you have installed it, you can run it, and then you want to create a new virtual machine. We are going to name mine Alma Workstation, and you want to select here ISO image. So if you have never selected it, you want to press other and then search for your path where you have downloaded alma.iso image. I've selected mine, and what you want to do is press here skip unattended installation. If you're doing unattended installation, you can just put all the parameters you want and VirtualBox will create a virtual machine for you, but we want to configure our virtual machine a bit differently. So you want to hit next then, and then you want to give your virtual machine memory and virtual CPU count. So I'm going to give mine like 8 gigabytes. That should be more than enough. And for virtual CPU count, I usually give 1/3 of what I have on my computer. So on my computer, I've got 6 cores. So I'm going to give 2 cores to the virtual machine. Then you want to create a virtual hard disk drive. If you don't select pre-allocate, it will, so you can specify here like 100 gigabytes, but your virtual machine will use only like maybe 20 to 30 gigabytes. Unless you download a bunch of data, install a bunch of softwares or something on your virtual machine, then it's going to use up to like 100 gigabytes, for example. I'm going to give mine 50 gigabytes. That should be, I think, enough. You want to hit next, and then you want to finish the installation. Next thing you want to do is select your virtual machine, go to settings, go to display, and here on video memory, if you have 16 megabytes, that's going to allow you only like 1000 by 800 pixels, something like that resolution. My monitor is 2560 x 4040, which means I'm gonna need to give it at least 64 megabytes, but I usually do 128 just because it speeds up a bit workstation. It doesn't lag when you play video inside. So I'm gonna press OK here, and then I'm gonna hit start. So once we have powered up our virtual machine, you can press on the virtual machine black screen, and you can with arrow keys point it to install Alma Linux 9. Your version might differ than mine. This will start the installation process. So now when you get to this screen, you can select the English language or any other language you would like. To remove these notifications, you can press right control on your keyboard. Then you go outside of your virtual machine. So if I go back inside, I can't go anywhere outside of the virtual machine. But if I press right control, you can then click here to hide those notifications. Then you want to select the language you want, press continue. In this screen, we want to make sure that install destination is set to your virtual hard drive. So the one we set for 50 gigabytes, you want to press done. Next, what you want to do is for software selection, you want to select workstation. And because of guest edition, we want to install development tools also with the workstation. That should be enough for now. And the last thing you want to do is set root password. Root password is your private one. You can select anything, just remember it and press done. After that, your begin installation button is unlocked and we can start the installation. Once the installation is completed, you can press Reboot System. And welcome to your Alma Linux virtual workstation. You can press Start Setup. I'm gonna turn off private location services, that's not necessary. And I'm also going to skip creating or connecting to your online accounts. For my name, I'm going to use DevOps. You can use whatever you want. So on Linux, you have root account and all the other local accounts. So in my case, I have root, and then this one is going to be DevOps. And for my DevOps account, I'm going to use a different password than the one I set up for the root account. And we are all done. We have our Alma Linux workstation installed as virtual machine on a Windows computer. If you want, you can take a tour that will give you a small guide on some features of GNOME and Alma Linux. I'm gonna skip it this time. So if you've taken a tour or not, next thing you wanna do is install guest editions for using some VirtualBox features on your virtual machine. You can do that so by pressing right control and going into devices and press here insert guest editions CD image. If you go back now to your virtual machine, you can see that inserted CD wants to get installed, so you can press run. And you're gonna need your password from your account. Once this is done, you will see press return to close this window, so you can press enter key. And once this window is once this installation is done, you can hit here cancel and you can go ahead and restart your workstation. Once your workstation has been rebooted, go ahead and log in. Once the workstation has been rebooted, you can press maximize and your resolution should upscale. If it didn't happen, most likely it's connected to the VRAM, so go ahead and take another look if that setting is set correctly. Also, what you can do, you can go to view and set it to full screen mode. I'm going to show you next few simple commands that are useful for beginner Linux users. So if you go to activities and then if you open up terminal, and if you type inside pwd, this is going to show you your current directory. On usual login into a shell, you're immediately in your home directory, which is /home/techops in my case. To list, in this case, /home/techops directory, you can do ls. That will show you what folders and files you have inside. If you do ls-l, you can get a list of attributes. So for example, who owns the files or what are the permissions for user and group to edit, read or execute the files. If you want to change directory, you can use command cd, which means change directory. And in my example, I would like to go, for example, inside of my home folder on desktop. So if I do de and press tab, it will autocomplete for me. So now if I do ls-l, I can see that there's nothing on my desktop currently. So if I do mkdir, this will create a directory called, for example, techops. And now if I do again ls-l, I can see that I've created techops directory. In order to see this on your desktop, you have to install GNOME shell extensions for desktop icons. You can do so by typing in sudo dnf install GNOME shell extension desktop icons. And if you type in -y, this will give you an instant accept for installing this package. You need to put your password and this is going to be installed now. So now if you go to your desktop, you can see there are no icons here. If you go to activities and if you type extension, you can go here to software extensions and you can install this GNOME software called extensions. Then you can open it. And in here, you can put like a tick mark on the desktop icons. And as you can see here, this gives you your home directory, trash bin, and recently created techops directory. So now if you open that directory up, you can see it here. And if you do again, let me just make this bigger, and we can type in clear And then if you go inside of the DevOps directory, you can do touch. This will create a file called DevOps. So as you can see, it's like the whole name, a file called DevOps. You can create a bunch of files. You can also add stuff into the file. So now if you want to create another file with some string inside, you can do touch, like a string file. And then you can do echo and quotes. You can say, this is new DevOps channel. And you want to put bigger than and type in string file. So this will do is everything under quotes, it will save inside of the string file. So now if we get the file, get is to read the file, you can do this and you can see that there's a string inside. Something useful other than get is commands called less and tail. So if you go to var log, this is the location of all the logs for Linux system. If you do ls-l, you can see here that there's a bunch of logs. So if you do the same thing like sudo get messages, we need to use sudo because we are user DevOps, and this messages log can only be read by user root or group root. Also here you can see that only user has read and write permissions. So like only root can read and edit this file. All the others have no permissions. So if I do sudo get messages, you can see I've got a bunch of logs here. But if I do, for example, sudo less messages, I can start from the top. So this is the point where Linux operating system started to the boot process. And then you can see there's like a lot of logs. If you go with space, you can go like one window size by one window size. If you go with enter, you can go line by line. Or you can press slash and then search for something. So for example, like system control doesn't exist. So like start, and then if you press again slash, you can go and check the next one. So consider it like a find command. If you want to quit it, just press Q, and then same thing, but from the bottom of the file, do sudo tail messages, and you will see only last few lines of some either log or like a file containing some text. If you want to have a bigger view of last few lines, you can do sudo tail -n and then input lines, number of lines you wanna check. So for example, 50 lines, and then you do messages again. You can see we got a bit bigger view of last 50 lines. Last kind of important stuff is command df. With df, you can see what's mounted on your Linux instance and what's the size of your Linux instance or the mount point. With -h, you will get a human readable output. So like the size will be in megabytes, gigabytes, and so on. So you can see here that our root partition is 6.2 gigabytes used, and you have 38 gigabytes available. And you can see that we have mounted a CD drive. That one is from installing guest edition. To kick that one out, easiest to do so is by going to activities and then selecting here files. And then you have here your either CD drives, USB sticks, network shares, or anything similar that's not directly on the Linux but attached to it, and you can just hit unmount. And that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. See you next week.